streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Monsi Bolaños.
For the first time in the nation's history, South Africa is headed to the round of 32 at the World Cup after defeating South Korea 1-0 and securing second place out of Group A. They will face Canada on Sunday in Los Angeles. Mexico shut out Czechia 3-0. Brazil won Group C after defeating Scotland 3-0. And Morocco beat Haiti 4-2, also out of Group C, and they're headed to the knockout stage. In the NBA, the Hornets are engaged in LaMelo Ball trade talks as multiple teams strongly pursue the star guard. This is according to ESPN. Well, the Pistons traded Isaiah Stewart to the Memphis Grizzlies for 3 future second-round picks. In baseball, the Chicago Cubs are acquiring left-hander David Peterson from the New York Mets. The Cubs beat the Mets in Game 2 of their doubleheader 10-2. New York has lost 5 in a row. Mookie Betts hit his 300th career home run as the Dodgers topped the Twins 4-3, while the Yankees held on 4-2 against the Tigers in Detroit.
Live from the heart of SEC country, this is your daily fix of grit, guts, and gridiron glory. Welcome to the Deep South College Football Show.
Bowens, here he goes! Georgia retakes the lead!
Breaking down the biggest matchups, the boldest takes, and the deepest rivalries in college football on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC.
Intercepted! They confused him! Xavier Brown headed the other way! Touchdown Tide!
From Fayetteville to Gainesville, from the Grove to Toomer's Corner, it's SEC football.
Chambers delivers! Touchdown!
Now, here's your award-winning host, Wyatt Fulton.
And welcome into another edition of the Deep South College Football Show right here on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports. Got a fun show today here. Is perception reality? When you look at Alabama football currently, I know we're going to be doing preview season here coming up. We'll kick that back off tomorrow, assuming nothing other major happens in the world of college football. But we'll pick that back up tomorrow. But today, Kalen DeBoer went on with Martin Houston on our radio station right here on Tide 100.9 this morning at 6:15. And this was maybe one of the better interviews I think Kalen DeBoer has done. He gave a lot of insight, talked a lot about maybe the perception around this Alabama football team. So let's talk about it today. Let's react to what Kalen DeBoer had to say this morning with Martin Houston. We got Jackson and Whitman hanging out with us here. Gentlemen, I know it was early this morning, but did y'all catch any of Kalen DeBoer's interview with Martin Houston?
Didn't even know it happened.
All right.
I knew it was happening, but ain't no way I was going to be up at 6:15 in the morning.
Yeah, 6:15 is kind of early. Well, I was up at 5, so.
For the purpose of this interview?
Yeah, just I normally don't get up that early, but I'm still normally up by, 7:30 at the latest for the most part.
Okay. Good for
Gotta
you.
get my day started on time, or as close to on time as I can get. So, Kalen DeBoer had a lot to say earlier today with Martin Houston. We've put out a couple of articles already on Tide109.com talking about the new addition to the Alabama coaching staff. He wants Alabama to be the most hated team in college football. What do we mean by that? What do we mean by the most hated team in college football? Because Jackson, Whitman, if you scroll social media, it seems like Alabama's pretty damn high on that list in terms of hated teams in college football.
Yeah, I think
My
very similar to
hell on a daily basis.
Yeah, like everybody hates Alabama. They love to hate Alabama because we've been good for so long. And we're, it looks like we're going to continue to, have consistency and be at least above average for years to come now as well, if not in that elite category. But I haven't heard the interview. So I'm just going to take a swing here and what he means by the most hated team in college football. Maybe not from a fan perspective, but from an opposing team perspective, you hate to play them kind of deal is what I would assume.
That's the moniker Nick Saban had, right? I mean, Nick Saban, one of the famous Nick Saban speeches is when Alabama steps onto that field, he wanted the opposing team to say, I hate playing these guys. I hate playing Alabama. I hate lining up against them. They're physical. They're tough. They're fundamentally sound. And it's just an overall miserable day when you line up across the line of scrimmage from the University of Alabama.
Yeah, my guess is kind of like what Jackson said. I don't think he's more so talking about the fans because, I mean, anytime you get a coach who spends a significant amount of time worrying about what fan bases, especially not their own, think, that's an issue. Kalen DeBoer seems like the furthest guy in the world from worrying about what Texas fans or Auburn fans or Iowa State fans think about him. I really do think that this most hated team in college football thing, he wants it to be within the bubble of people that are directly involved with the sport, players, coaches, ADs, assistant coaches, things like that.
And he had mentioned that too, right? Again, opposing players, opposing teams, you want them to hate coming to play Alabama, not because Alabama's dirty, not because you feel like somebody's going to get hurt in the game, but because Alabama's so tough to play against, right? They're physical. They move you off the ball on both lines of scrimmage. They're fundamentally sound, right? They're not going to make those mistakes because for so long at Alabama, especially under Nick Saban, we saw it. Alabama didn't lose very many ball games. I think they averaged like 1.5 losses a season or something like that under head coach Nick Saban. Again, you remove the first season in 2007, like they averaged less than 2 losses a season under Nick Saban. That's including the postseason losses that they did have, by the way, where the second loss of the year was in the national championship. Or, actually no, because outside of the Ohio State in 2014, they never lost the first round playoff game. The only loss they suffered in the postseason under Nick Saban was
Michigan.
Ohio. Well, okay, so Michigan too, because first year of the 4-team era, last year of the 4-team era. So even still, Alabama rarely was losing in the first round of the college football playoff. It was almost a guarantee. If Alabama is in that 4-team field, Alabama's going to play for a national championship. And so that was so tough, though, for Nick Saban, right? We saw Alabama lose very, very few ball games under Nick Saban. You think about the losses that they did have. I mean, it was LSU in 2011. You could argue Alabama beat themselves in that game. Johnny Manziel and Texas A&M in 2012. Alabama beat themselves in that game. The Iron Bowl in 2013, another one where you look at it and you can very clearly point to a couple of moments and say, yeah, Alabama beat themselves. Or if Alabama didn't beat themselves in games, it took the most miraculous, just superhuman type plays that we haven't seen since in the sport, right? I mean, Johnny Manziel in Tuscaloosa here, right? Losing the ball on a scramble. It just so happens to, fall back into his hands, and then he flips it into the end zone for a touchdown, right? The kick six. I mean, that's like miracle type stuff. So it took either Alabama completely screwing up and making so many mistakes that they couldn't overcome it, beating themselves, or it took literally what felt like divine intervention for Alabama to come out and lose football games under Nick Saban. That's how good Alabama was. Fundamentally sound, physical, pushing you off the line of scrimmage. They didn't make mistakes. And that's what you want to get back to.
I think I recall like 2 games in my limited college football experience where Alabama just got beat. One of them being 2019 LSU here at home, where they just ran out of ammo in a close game. Alabama, I think if they play that game in 2019 10 times, LSU probably wins 6.
See, but even 2019 LSU, I can point to 2 moments in that game where Alabama really and truly beat themselves.
Yeah.
The Tua ghost fumble on the opening drive and the interception right before halftime. Coach Orgeron said it in interviews. That was a defense that they'd never put out there before. They had never ran that defensive formation or play prior to the play where they intercepted Tua Tagovailoa just before halftime.
And then all I can think of outside of that would be the national championship game against Clemson, not the illegal pick play game, but just Trevor Lawrence coming out and waving his golden locks in front of the world and saying, hey, I'm pretty good at football.
Just off the top of my head, I'm fairly certain that Clemson game is the only game that you look at and go, they just got their ass kicked. They just got smoked in that game. Even, again, some of the losses later in the Saban years, right? You had the Tennessee game in 22. You had the questionable pass interference on a Kool-Aid McKinstry interception that would have sealed the deal for Alabama. The LSU game, right? It took Brian Kelly having balls of steel and going for the 2-point conversion to seal the deal against Alabama. You make it, you're a hero. You lose it, you're an idiot. And it just so happened Brian Kelly and LSU got that 2-point conversion.
Is it fair to say that call to go for 2 working out maybe added an extra year and a half to his job?
Absolutely. That added an extra year.
They hated him in 24. They weren't a fan of him in 23. And the only reason that they had promise after 22 was beating Alabama and basically welcoming themselves to get their teeth kicked in against Georgia in the SEC title game.
So all that being said, people hated to play Alabama in the 2010s and early 2020s because of how good Nick Saban's Alabama teams were. Well, we're post Nick Saban. We're entering year 3 of the Kalen DeBoer era in Tuscaloosa, and Alabama has lost some of that luster, right? When Alabama steps onto a football field, Jackson Whitman, if I'm an opposing team, I'm not afraid to play that team right now. The current iteration of Alabama, I'm not scared to play them.
I think that depends on your definition of scared. I think that depends on
okay. If you're East Carolina, yeah, you're horrified for that game.
Well, yeah.
If you're Tennessee,
I see what you're saying. I I think like it's turned from it's turned into more of an optimistic worry. Like I'm not ready to believe, and maybe this is just me clinging on to something that I was never truly able to hold. But maybe it's like, people used to have bodily functions run down their leg when they see Alabama take the field. Now you see that crimson helmet with those players' numbers on the side. I don't think that you wet your pants all the same, but there's still probably a little bit of stomach.
You pee yourself a little bit.
Like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
I don't think there's the bone-shaking fear of, please, God, let me have all 10 fingers and all 10 toes. But I don't think that Tennessee's saying, hey, please come play. I want to play this game today. I don't think Tennessee wants to play against Alabama tomorrow in a parking lot at 1 p.m. I don't think it's that level of no fear. You got guys like Georgia, these upper echelon programs. If they had to play at Texas this year, maybe it's more that like, hey, come find me, because we've still got something to prove. But I still think there's some fear. I just don't think it's what it used to be. And that's all. I haven't even mentioned about what happens when they play at home. Say what you want about the football team. I've been in that stadium. You've got to be a different kind of man to be in there on a Saturday night and not get scared.
Yeah. You absolutely. Kalen DeBoer's lost one home game. Kalen DeBoer's lost one home game in his tenure as Alabama's head coach. You think about the home losses under Nick Saban.
Two home losses this decade.
Yeah.
2.
Like you think about what Nick Saban did in 2007 or okay, whatever. 2008, you didn't lose a home game. 2009, you were just flat out undefeated. You didn't lose another home game until
LSU in 2011.
No, you lost to Auburn in the Cam back in 2010. You lost to LSU in 11. You lost to A&M in 12. So actually, the early Saban days may have been a little bit easier at home, or was it just, hey, teams of destiny come rolling through Tuscaloosa?
Cam Newton. That adds up. Johnny Manziel needed his Heisman moment.
Manziel.
Yeah,
and then even after that,
actually checks out.
Even after that, 2013, you didn't lose a home game. 2014, you didn't lose a home game. 2015, you lose to Ole Miss. You don't lose a home game after that. 2016, you're undefeated until you face Clemson. 2017, the only loss you suffered was on the road in the Iron Bowl. 2018, you were undefeated until Clemson. So from 2015 to 2019, Alabama did not lose a home game.
Yeah, no,
20, you're undefeated. 21, you don't lose a home game. 22, Texas.
My time here as a student, sometimes I wonder like why we pay all this money to go to a school where we leave football games in the third quarter. And I always like get fired up when I see the Saban clip from a long time ago where it's like, hey, stay for the freaking fourth quarter, please.
Yeah.
I kind of see where those kids are coming from. I mean, like football games are supposed to be exciting. I mean, what are you going to watch if you're going to a home game in Alabama in 2016? Like, okay, hey guys, can we win by 1 million? I mean, like a fan's thought process should not be my thought process when I load up a game on college football and take it off a Heisman. It should not be, all right, let's see. Like, I want to see if my offensive guard can throw a touchdown pass because why not?
Because I'm already beating you by 40, so why not see who else can get in this game? But Whitman, you're entering your senior year, right?
Yes.
How many home losses have you witnessed as a student?
2.
Oklahoma,
my second ever game at Alabama. Yes, Quinn Ewers came in. I mean, what a game, by the way. The vibes around that stadium were unreal. And that clip of the team walking out, oh, that was nice. That was spicy. And then Quinn Ewers just let it hang. And then Oklahoma this last year.
Okay, so you've been in college for 3 years
3
now,
years.
and you've seen 2 home losses. That's
I consider myself lucky beyond that.
Yeah, and that's considered lucky. Students, if you enrolled as a freshman in 2015, right? So you had the 15 season, the 16 season, the 17 season, and the 18 season. You watched 1 home loss, and it was ridiculous. I think it was your second home game ever that you saw that.
I'm not gonna lie.
If you enrolled a year later, you also saw 1 home loss, and it was LSU in 2019.
If I'm like a job, if I'm an employer in like 2019 and I'm hiring a kid fresh out of Alabama, fresh out of college, I'm asking how much he enjoys basketball. Because if it's a football only guy or a girl, I'm putting their resume in the trash. They don't know adversity. They've never seen adversity with their own eyes if they were in that time period as a freshman. Quite frankly, I don't know if I want to hire anybody that was a freshman in 2009, saw 3 national championships. It's like, okay, that's just what you do here now.
Yeah, those are the glory days. Those were absolutely the glory days. But, okay, so Alabama was so feared. People, like you said, bodily fluids were flowing when they saw that crimson and white jersey walk out onto the field. How do you get back to that level if you're Alabama? Because that's not the current perception of the University of Alabama. The perception is, look, if we can punch them in the mouth, if we can hit them early, take a lead, they may roll over and give up. You saw it they didn't give up in Nashville, but you saw Vandy punch them. Alabama never got up off the mat, right? It just turned into a wrestling match at that point. So Vandy punched them. Tennessee punched them in the first half of the 2024 third Saturday in October. Alabama didn't get up. Oklahoma beat the dead horse and then some in Norman 2 seasons ago. Last year, Florida State, Alabama punches early, and I will give them credit for that. They punched early against Florida State, taking that opening drive for a touchdown. Florida State gets up off the mat and responds. Alabama lays on the floor and watches Florida State just roll over them. Alabama gets to the SEC championship. Georgia hits them in the mouth. Alabama rolls over. They get to the Rose Bowl against Indiana. Indiana punches them in the mouth. And Alabama is still picking itself up off of the mud-covered grass in Pasadena.
How do we get to a point? I want to steal the quote from that kid that played baseball for Oklahoma. I'm sure you've seen it. Playing in the SEC, you're going to get hit in the mouth. You're going to bleed from the mouth. You just got to look in the mirror and ask yourself, do you like the taste of blood? That's what it is right now.
That's a good one.
I think the problem, our football team loves looking at their hands when they're covered in other people's blood after they've gotten done dragging them up and down the field for 4 quarters. You got to learn to love the taste of your own when it's in your mouth.
You got to if you're going to have success in the SEC. So how does Alabama get back to that level? Oh crap, Alabama's on my schedule. How do we get back to that point if you're the University of Alabama? We'll talk about it on the other side here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
Under the biggest cactus in town, Taco Casa. Quality is number one. You got to start with a good quality product, but it's got to be at a good value to the customers.
Everything is about quality.
You just can't beat the quality, taste, and value.
And it's because we take pride in providing you with the best.
Good customer service and good food, good quality.
We want to make sure that we give that to them each and every time they come and visit us.
The sense of pride that we have in the quality, the consistency of our food carries over to everything we do in the stores. That's Taco Casa.
Too many families face a widening gap between what they can afford and what they need to thrive. More than half of families in the U.S. today are one paycheck away from financial crisis. At Good 360, we deliver hope when families need it most, providing essentials like clothing, hygiene items, and household goods. Put help within reach. Learn more at good360.org.
What does it mean to advertise and do your marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa? Melissa started her business in 2014. What would you say to someone considering Town Square Media Tuscaloosa?
My experience with Town Square Media has been awesome, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone. I think that this is the first time in my marketing experience that I've been able to see my return on investment. I would definitely say in the past that has not been the case. In this, I like knowing that that's 100%. A lot of the marketing we've done has been radio. You guys have so much more to offer than that, whether it's, websites, from targeted marketing to radio. You are kind of a one-stop shop, and it makes doing marketing so much easier. So I would definitely recommend it.
For more info on marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa, call 205-345-7200 or click on Advertise with Us on our website.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-923-6829 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-923-6829. That's 800-923-6829. What do you have to lose? Call 800-923-6829. Again, 800-923-6829.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Here's your Tuscaloosa and West Alabama forecast. Going to hold on to sunshine with a pop-up shower or storm here this afternoon at 88, 72 tonight. Early shower or storm, then partly cloudy. Slight chance of showers and storms on Friday with Friday's high 91. And the temperatures 92 to 95 for the weekend coming up. Sunny skies Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Richard DeWetting at the Weather Channel for Town Square Media Tuscaloosa.
It's 90 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Stay up to date with the Crimson Tide. Local high school sports and Bama in the pros right here on Tide 100.9.
Welcome back into the Deep South College Football Show. We talked about what it takes to be a feared college football program. And now, how does Alabama get back to that level? Well, Kalen DeBoer mentioned the offensive line here earlier today in an interview with Martin Houston. You can check it out on the replay anywhere that you get your podcast. Just type in the Martin Houston Show, and you can hear the interview with Kalen DeBoer earlier today. How does Alabama get back to that level? Well, it starts in the trenches, right? That's where the SEC is. Eat, sleeps, breathes, craps football is the trenches. You cannot be a good college football team and not be good in the trenches. At least we thought that was the perception until maybe last season. Alabama and Oklahoma both kind of maybe didn't kill the notion that you have to be good in the trenches, but it made everybody realize, oh, okay, wait a minute. If you've got a good enough quarterback and all the pieces around that offensive line are good enough, then maybe you don't have to have a top 50 offensive line in the country, because both Alabama and Oklahoma not good on the offensive line last season. However, Alabama was pretty good on the defensive line. They saw the emergence of Yanze Pierre. You had Tim Keenan kind of mugging up the middle of those run plays there, and you had really good linebacker play out of Alabama. On the flip side of that, Oklahoma might have been a top 3 defense in the SEC last season. So you can't suck on both sides of the trenches. I don't think that's where Alabama will be this season, though. Alabama hired Adrian Clem, the former offensive line coach from Oregon. We've hashed this out before, but Jackson Whitman, do you know how many sacks Oregon gave up in 2022 as a team?
1?
They gave up 5.
Oh,
They
that's
gave
not
up
a
5,
lot.
but you can say you can count on one hand how many sacks Oregon gave up in 2022. That's all the quarterbacks, by the way. That's not just Bo Nix. They gave up 5 sacks total in 2022. And Jackson, you'll know this a little bit better than I do. Weren't 2 or 3 of them in the first game against Georgia? Because that was the year Georgia had their really nasty defensive line.
Yeah, I believe there were 3 in that game.
So 3 sacks in the first game of the year because you faced that defensive line out of Athens. And outside of that, for the other however many games they played, I think they went 10-2. I guess I could just pull up the schedule here. I believe they went 10-2 in 2022. Excuse me, they went 9-3. Wow, it's a bad year for Oregon, but they went 9-3.
That was Lanning's first year as a head coach.
It was played in the Holiday Bowl against North Carolina. So, game 1, you allow 3 sacks. The other 12 games that you played over the course of the season, you gave up 2 sacks. I feel like that's a pretty good offensive line. I understand he's coming from the Pac-12, and fans are saying, well, we don't like the Pac-12 and Pac-12 softness because all that fun jazz out there. But you got to give credit where credit's due. They only gave up 5 sacks with Adrian Clem leading that offensive line unit. They also had a 1,000-yard rusher. Bucky Irving was a 1,000-yard rusher for Oregon in 2022 with 1,058 yards. So barely got there, but 1,058, that's more than anything Alabama's had since Brian Robinson in 2021. Also averaging 6.8 yards a carry. He had 5 rushing touchdowns. The next running back down was Noah Whittington, who had 779 yards as well, averaging 5.6 a carry, 5 rushing touchdowns. 779 is the most amount of rushing yards Alabama's had by a single player since Jahmyr Gibbs in 2022. So even if Alabama's offensive line doesn't take this massive step, even if the run game isn't, exponentially better this season than it was last year, I feel like you're going to have a little bit more success. I feel like you're going to have more success. You almost have to have more success, right? Because in terms of the University of Alabama, that was rock bottom. Last year's offensive line and last year's rushing attack was the rock bottom. Worst rushing attack Alabama's had since 1955. Was the Berlin Wall even built yet? Did that thing even exist last time Alabama's rushing offense was this bad?
Don't know why I know this, but no. It was built in the 60s.
So there you go. Germany wasn't even you still had East and West Germany. There wasn't even a Berlin Wall yet the last time Alabama's rushing attack was as bad as it was last season. So, safe to say, that was rock bottom. If you start digging and getting worse than that, there's going to be a lot of really uncomfortable conversations this season. However, I don't think Alabama will do that. I think Alabama will get marginally better because you've got offensive linemen that fit the scheme a little bit better. You've got an offensive line coach that Kalen DeBoer said earlier today. The way Adrian Clem teaches ball is a lot easier for players to understand, right? He's talked with players during spring practice. They said, hey, look, the way Adrian Clem teaches this, it's finally starting to click. It's finally starting to work out for me. And he even mentioned when he was searching for an offensive line coach after Coach Cap was relieved of his duties in Tuscaloosa, a lot of guys at the NFL level said, hey, Adrian Clem, that's the one, because he was the offensive line coach for the Patriots and the Steelers prior to returning to college football with USC in 2025. And now, as he announced earlier today, Kalen DeBoer and Alabama have now hired another assistant offensive line coach here, and I'm going to butcher the crap out of this name. So if he's listening, I greatly, greatly apologize. However, Alabama does have a new offensive line assistant, Vane Talamaivoa, I think is how you pronounce that. I probably just butchered the crap out of that. Coach DeBoer called him Coach V earlier today, so good. That's what I'm going to call him, Coach V. He was the right-hand man to Adrian Clem in 2022 on that Oregon squad. So if they recognized that the offensive line was such a massive, massive gaping hole last season, they're at least trying. This isn't like they saw, hey man, this unit was not good last year. Oh, well, we'll see what happens this year, and if it's not great this year, then we might make some changes. No, they wholeheartedly realized and said, "Oh crap, this is not good. This was not good last year." Now, to play a little bit of devil's advocate, because I love to do that here, the offensive line last season, the run game for Alabama last season, it was not great. They could not consistently rely on the run game. However, there were multiple moments last year where Alabama needed plays from their running backs, needed plays in short yardage situations and or the run game, and Alabama delivered. There were a handful of moments there where Alabama gets the ball mid to late fourth quarter, and it's, hey, we got to go get a first down, or we need to go score and chew a little bit of clock and prevent the other team from getting this football. I think about the Vanderbilt game, right? Alabama won that game by multiple scores, but they sealed the deal on that one by getting the ball to the running backs. And that was Jam Miller's best day last season. So maybe you had a Linsanity run from Jam Miller last year. But
shame that Jam Miller's best moment as an Alabama Crimson Tide running back came when he covered the spread against Vanderbilt.
I don't know that it was necessarily his best moment, though.
That wheel route against Georgia was pretty nice. That's
Both
up
of
there.
them. Both of them were really nice because he's done it twice.
Hey.
23 SEC championship.
I remember though, he covered that
championship. Jam Miller's
yeah. No, I was talking about the home game.
That one was also pretty sweet.
I don't think I've ever seen Jalen Milroe throw a better ball.
That was a dart from Jalen Milroe to Jam Miller there. But regardless, though, I think about the Vanderbilt game, right? Alabama needed to seal that deal with the run game, and they did it and covered the spread for those that care about that type of stuff. The Georgia game, right? The run game was not great against Georgia. But third down, Alabama needs a play. First down ends this ball game. All right, if you don't pick up a first down, Georgia's got a chance. They already burned you once. Talon Taylor just so happened to drop a touchdown. You don't want to put your defense back in that spot because Georgia they were clicking by the time we got to the third and fourth quarter there. What did Ty Simpson do? Fake the handoff, run the little sprint out, flip it to Jam Miller, first down, ball game over. Alabama beats Georgia. They won with the run game against Vanderbilt. The running backs were instrumental in Alabama's victory over Missouri a week later, right? Jam Miller was having a really good day. He goes out with a concussion. Daniel Hill comes in after not really seeing a ton of playing time earlier in the year. And Daniel Hill catches a 1-yard pass from Ty Simpson for what ended up being the game-winning touchdown. And then Alabama chewed a little bit of clock on their next drive, forced Bo Perbula into some 2-minute offense situations that maybe he wasn't suited for, and Bo Perbula made a mistake. Alabama walks out of Columbia with the victory. So last season, Alabama did have the plays that did make some plays that needed to be made in the run game. I think about the Iron Bowl too, right? Jam Miller had a decent day going in the Iron Bowl prior to his lower body injury against the Tigers, and Alabama on third down needed a big pickup. So what do? You call on Ty Simpson. You call on your quarterback to go out and make the plays that need to be made, and Ty Simpson races down the sideline for 30 yards, puts Alabama in field goal territory. Alabama ends up scoring a touchdown on that drive. So while the run game maybe wasn't the best last season, at times it looked like Alabama was able to run the ball when they wanted to run the ball. It wasn't that they were taking away the pass game. It wasn't that, the opposing team was dictating that Alabama had to run the ball. There were certain key moments last year where Alabama was able to make plays in the run game or with the running backs when they needed to be made. So how does that equate to 2026, though? How does that match up with what 2026 is going to look like? I don't think you're going to see Alabama have this, 1,500-yard rusher this season. If you do, I'll happily eat crow. I will be dead wrong on that one. I don't think you're going to see it, though. I think you're going to see a plethora of running backs making plays in situations that they need to be made, and you're going to see almost a running back by committee, right? You look at this running back room for Alabama: Daniel Hill, Kevin Riley, A.K. Deere, E.J. Crowell, Trayshawn Brown, and Khalifa Keith. Almost all of them do something differently really, really good. Not to say they can't do the other stuff, but they all have one specific skill set that they're really, really good at. Daniel Hill, he's a bruiser. Kevin Riley, he's a pass catcher. A.K. Deere, he's shifty. E.J. Crowell seems to be kind of a mixture of all three of them, right? So who ends up taking that spot? We'll just have to wait and see here. Coming back on the other side of the break here, let's talk about Alabama, because again, we're talking all about Alabama today here, but newcomers are setting the standard in Tuscaloosa, right? The standard of Alabama football. Newcomers are understanding it, and newcomers are leading the charge. When you look at new tight end, Josh Ford. We'll talk about him on the other side here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC.
Catch hourly local news updates from the Tuscaloosa Thread, powered by Tuscaloosa Chrysler Jeep Dodge Ram. Lease a new 2026 Chrysler Pacifica Select for $421 a month for 42 months, $39.99 due at signing.
What does it mean to advertise and do your marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa? Melissa started her business in 2014. What would you say to someone considering Town Square Media Tuscaloosa?
My experience with Town Square Media has been awesome, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone. I think that this is the first time in my marketing experience that I've been able to see my return on investment. I would definitely say in the past that has not been the case. In this, I like knowing that that's 100%. A lot of the marketing we've done has been radio. You guys have so much more to offer than that, whether it's, websites, from targeted marketing to radio. You are kind of a one-stop shop, and it makes doing marketing so much easier. So I would definitely recommend it.
For more info on marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa, call 205-345-7200 or click on Advertise with Us on our website.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You sort through tons of resumes and you get too many so-so applicants. You're just waiting for someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now there's a place where you can meet them fast. ZipRecruiter.
Need to hire right away. Start your search for strong candidates. The right fit awaits. Build your team, build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free, and you're on your way to meeting your match. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So try it now. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
24/7, 365. We've got all your coverage of the Crimson Tide on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC.
We're talking all about the University of Alabama today here on the Deep South College Football Show as Alabama head coach Kalen DeBoer joined Martin Houston earlier this morning. You can go check out Martin's stream on the Tide Facebook page. I think he's also got a YouTube channel as well. So go check it out. Go see what Coach Kalen DeBoer had to say about the University of Alabama. He mentioned a newcomer is setting the tone here this season for Alabama. Hasn't even played a snap yet in Tuscaloosa, but he is the one that is kind of getting after guys in practice, right? And that would be new tight end Josh Ford. For those that don't remember, Josh Ford transferred to Alabama from Oklahoma State. He spent 2 seasons in Stillwater. First season, he played in all 12 games for the Cowboys, right? Oklahoma State Cowboys. Played 2 seasons for the Cowboys there, and then played in 4 games this past season. Mike Gundy gets fired after game number 4 at Oklahoma State because they were not great last season. So he maintains his red shirt. He sits out the rest of the year, enters the transfer portal, and commits to Alabama. Well, he was the first transfer portal commitment for the University of Alabama during the 2026 transfer portal cycle. Actually committed to Alabama before even Christmas. So it was the first one at Oklahoma State. He totaled 13 receptions for 137 yards and 2 touchdowns. In 2025, he caught 3 passes for 45 yards and a score in 4 games as a sophomore last year. After sitting out, he redshirted, so he's a redshirt sophomore coming into Tuscaloosa here. But I don't know that you're necessarily bringing in Josh Ford for what he can do in the pass game, right? You've got pass-catching tight ends. You brought back Caleb Edwards for his sophomore campaign after he started 6 games and appeared in all 15 for Alabama last season. You brought back Marshall Pritchett, who is a very, very talented pass-catching tight end. You added Max Sutter from Illinois out of the high school ranks here when you look at the high school recruiting. here at the University of Alabama. So you've got pass-catching tight ends. Go back to 2024, right? The first season under Kalen DeBoer. Do we remember who the tight ends were that year? Do you guys remember who the tight ends were in 2024? Your top two options?
Josh Cuevas and
someone who transferred.
So y'all don't know ball. Y'all don't know ball. It was
That's
CJ
okay.
Dupree and Robbie Oots.
Oh, yeah, right. Well, Robbie Oots, that's a glorified fullback.
It was
Great
Big
dude.
Robbie. It was Big Robbie. CJ Dupree and Robbie Oots. And that was kind of that same. It appears that the 2024 tight end room is what we're going to get in 2026 again, right? CJ Dupree, really, really good blocker, but more of a pass-catching tight end. And you've got Big Robbie Oots as just the mauler, that almost that extra offensive lineman out there on the field, right? That appears to be what Alabama's trying to do again in 2026. 25, no disrespect to Josh Cuevas, no disrespect to anybody on the roster last season. You really didn't replicate what Robbie Oots brought in the blocking game, right? Oots was often used in those two tight end sets as an extra blocker. CJ Dupree would slip out and go, head over into the flat for a route or head up downfield. Robbie Oots was just, if he got his hands on you, it was over. You were not getting past anybody. 25, again, no disrespect to Josh Cuevas, but wasn't necessarily the blocker that Robbie Oots was, and neither was freshman Caleb Edwards. He's a pass-catching tight end. Caleb Edwards is. So 26 here, it seems like Alabama, they're putting so much emphasis in fixing the blocking. I almost wonder, and this may be a conversation for after the season, once we kind of see how things play out, I almost wonder if Alabama is trying to correct too much. Does that make sense? They're trying to overcorrect, right? So if you've got a mistake on your football team, you've got a blank spot on your football team, you're going to go all in on trying to fix that area, right? If you don't have a good quarterback, what are you going to do? You're probably going to overspend on a quarterback in the transfer portal. You're going to lean too far into trying to fix that. I almost wonder if that's the case for Alabama this season, right? You saw how much of a hole the run game and the offensive line was last year. Are you leaning too much into trying to fix that? And is there going to be another area that takes a hit because you were so focused on this one spot?
I was going to ask, what do you think could be a potential downside of overcorrecting the offensive line?
I almost wonder if it's going to be not an area that a ton of people are going to notice, right? Like, I don't think it's going to be a dip in quarterback play. I don't think it's going to be a dip in receiver play. But I almost wonder if it's going to be a dip in tight end production in terms of the receiving game, right? Because I mentioned Caleb Edwards and Marshall Pritchett, yes, but look at the moves Alabama's made this offseason. You fire Coach Kapilovic, you bring in Adrian Clem, you bring in 11 new offensive linemen. Nick Sheridan leaves to go be the offensive coordinator at Michigan State. So what do? You take your tight ends coach, Brian Ellis, who had a pretty good, couple of seasons in Tuscaloosa, and you kick him to quarterbacks coach because he played college quarterback. So that makes sense, right? Who'd you bring in? You brought in Richard Owens, an offensive line coach from Louisville. You just made another assistant tight ends coach hire, Noah Fisher. Noah Fisher played offensive tackle at South Alabama. So you've got two guys that have never played tight end. Noah Fisher helped with offensive linemen and tight ends last year, but effectively that's the only tight end experience you've got on the coaching staff is a guy who helped out at coaching tight ends last year at Louisville. He played offensive line. He helped with the offensive line. So you've hired two offensive line coaches to coach tight ends, emphasizing the need to fix the blocking, and again, I don't want to doubt these guys before they even coach a game here in Tuscaloosa or coach a fall camp, a full season, because they've only had the 15 practices of spring ball and A-Day. But I almost wonder if it's too much of a course correction.
And that would lead to a dip in tight end receiving yards?
It would. It would lead to a dip in production in the tight end room because if they're so focused on the blocking, then you're not helping Caleb Edwards, Marshall Pritchett get better at route running, right? You're not helping them get better. If you're so focused on blocking, are you taking time away from them on the jugs machine? And so even if they get out into the open field, maybe they're not as prepared to make a catch. And could it lead to more drop balls out of the tight end room, thereby taking away the safety blanket of a big body tight end for a new quarterback?
But do you want I understand what you're saying, and I'm not saying that that's not going to happen, but I would also caveat here and say, do you want your receivers to have the receiving yards, or do you want extra protection for your quarterback and less tight end yards, or do you want more tight end yards and less protection for your quarterback? Because we kind of saw it over these past 2 seasons on offense where, like we were talking about with Robbie Utes and Dupree in 24, you didn't have as many receiving yards as you did with Cuevas, but that came at the cost of quarterback protection. Do you see what I'm saying? So do you want, I guess it's pick and choose what you want and what you're good at. And for a good offensive coordinator and offensive-minded head coach, you're going to call plays based around what you're good at and what you feel comfortable with and what you're trying to do in the run game based on that blocking scheme.
And I'd go as far as to say that, anytime you can't be the best in the sport at everything. That's always been a given. The best passing teams in college football have also never been, the number one rushing attack. The best rushing teams in college football always sacrificed maybe elite level quarterback play or top-notch wide receivers to focus on making themselves the best, rushing attack possible. I mean, you look at Iowa. Obviously, if Iowa could put up 40 points a game along with only giving up 4, they would do that. But they spend so much time and effort and energy into making that defense the best in the sport that they have to sacrifice on offense. So I think it's a given that if you overcorrect, you're going to see fall off in some areas. I think it just has to be something that you're okay with. And if Alabama's okay with a slight dip in tight end production, that's going to work out well. If the trade-off is 200 yards of tight end receiving versus an extra 400, 500, 600 yards on the ground and 3 less sacks, you take that.
And you also have to include quarterback play in that as well, because, I mean, as good as Jalen Milroe was, he wasn't always using his tight ends as Ty Simpson was, right? So you kind of have to play within their means as well. And not everybody has a, dripping wet with talent tight end room like what Georgia has, where they have 6 5-star tight ends that can both block and catch passes and are 6'8", 230.
That's fair. There's a sweet spot, and I'm almost a little worried if Alabama might be getting past that sweet spot, course correcting the wrong direction. But if it leads to less sacks, more production at receiver, and a better run game, then in the aggregate, it really doesn't matter what the hell the tight ends do at that point. I always want, if I'm a coach, which I'm not, but if I was, I want that big bodied tight end, that safety net that can just be pockets breaking down. Oh crap, got to do something. Hey, there's a 6'6", there's a 6'5" tight end who's standing 4 yards away from me and probably is going to shake at least one tackle. If not, I at least get 3 yards, and instead of taking a 4-yard sack, I get a 3-yard gain. So it's a net difference of 7 yards there. I'm just gonna flip it to him. So, but may not matter in the grand scheme of things. We'll wrap up the loose ends and get you ready for the game with Ryan Fowler here on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
Now, this hour's West Alabama real-time news update from the Tuscaloosa Thread Newsroom.
Michelin North America is shutting down Tuscaloosa's 80-year-old B.F. Goodrich tire plant, a move that will eliminate close to 1,200 manufacturing jobs. Production will be consolidated at Michelin's Fort Wayne, Indiana plant, and the Tuscaloosa operation will begin winding down in 2027 before shuttering in late 2028. Mayor Walt Maddox has pledged the city's support for affected workers and said meetings are underway about how to keep the local economy stable. For the details on these stories and more free coverage of local news, get connected at TuscaloosaThread.com.
Halito, this is Choctaw Princess Lexi Rodriguez inviting you to celebrate the 76th Choctaw Indian Fair, July 14th through the 18th.
Immerse yourself in the creative spirit of the Choctaw people through arts, crafts, dance, and music. Purchase one-of-a-kind beadwork and basketry at the Arts and Crafts Pavilion.
And don't miss midway rides, nightly concerts, and the granddaddy of all field sports, Choctaw Stickball.
Visit ChoctawIndianFair.com and like us on Facebook.
Hope to see you there. Hachapisa Lajige.
Sound familiar? At Mattress Firm, we understand there are many problems that can keep you up at night, like snoring, aches and pains, or sleeping hot. Our sleep experts have the unrivaled know-how to match you with a mattress that can help. And through Friday at Mattress Firm, you can get a Sealy mattress in any size for only $494.99. For the great sleep you deserve, visit Mattress Firm. We make sleep easy. Restrictions apply. See store or website for details.
I'm attorney Steven Mizrano. Did you know that insurance companies will only offer you pennies on the dollar for your injury? When you're in a wreck, you need an attorney who knows the law and will fight for you. I don't back down from the insurance companies. You need to hire a proven attorney who will win. My firm will fight to make sure you get the compensation you deserve. Call 800-8000 or visit mezwins.com. I've got this.
No representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
What does it mean to advertise and do your marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa? Melissa started her business in 2014. What would you say to someone considering Town Square Media Tuscaloosa?
My experience with Town Square Media has been awesome, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone. I think that this is the first time in my marketing experience that I've been able to see my return on investment. I would definitely say in the past that has not been the case. In this, I like knowing that that's 100%. A lot of the marketing we've done has been radio. You guys have so much more to offer than that, whether it's, websites, from targeted marketing to radio. You are kind of a one-stop shop, and it makes doing marketing so much easier. So I would definitely recommend it.
For more info on marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa, call 205-345-7200 or click on Advertise with Us on our website.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-923-6829 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-923-6829. That's 800-923-6829. What do you have to lose? Call 800-923-6829. Again, 800-923-6829.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Here's your Tuscaloosa and West Alabama forecast. Going to hold on to sunshine with a pop-up shower or storm here this afternoon at 88, 72 tonight. Early shower or storm, then partly cloudy. Slight chance of showers and storms on Friday, with Friday's high 91. And the temperature's 92 to 95 for the weekend coming up. Sunny skies Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Richard DeWelling at the Weather Channel for Town Square Media Tuscaloosa.
It's 89 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Roll Tide all the time. This is Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC, the home of Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
Welcome back as we get ready to wrap up the loose ends here on the Deep South College Football Show on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports. We talked about Kalen DeBoer's interview with Martin Houston earlier today. Just kind of talking about a lot of different things. The offensive line, wanting to be the most hated team in college football, the tight end room, because I know that's a big point of contention in addition to the offensive line and the run blocking here. But let's talk about the defense very, very briefly here. As Kalen DeBoer didn't talk a ton about Alabama's defense, Martin and them didn't quite ask a ton of questions here. But when you look at this defense, I said it with Chuck Oliver yesterday when I joined his show yesterday afternoon. This defense is, we could spend the next 4 minutes, to use Chuck's words, oohing and gooing over this secondary and how deep it is and the big cornerbacks. But when you look at the rest of this defense, I'm expecting a lot of big things out of Caleb Woodson this season. You could, by midway through spring practice, I'd say we were already ready to maybe not even pencil him in as a starter. Like, I think Whitman Jackson, I think we were ready to write that thing in pen that Caleb Woodson is going to be a starting linebacker on this team this season here.
transferred with the intention. Every fan that I spoke to had the intention that he would be the starting Mike linebacker against East Carolina.
So Caleb Woodson, outside of him, you've got Luke Metz, QB Reese, Abdul Sanders, Duke Johnson that could all get reps at that inside linebacker room. Who do we think starts alongside Caleb Woodson right now? Because I think that one's a lot more wide open than a lot of people think.
I think we had this conversation a little while ago, and I think we kind of settled on QB Reese.
Okay.
I think maybe not as, physically toolsy as Caleb Woodson. Doesn't have the speed or the length, but very aggressive, like will put his face mask in your chest.
Yeah.
And tackles with intent kind of guy.
Just a guy who comes in there with nasty intentions. And we've seen that at linebacker before at the University of Alabama. And those guys turned out pretty good. I think of, Dante Hightower was just, I'm going to fly in and hit the mess out of somebody. Reuben Foster, the most notable one, I think, in the Saban era, outside of maybe Rolando McClain, of just, hey, look, I'm going to come in. I got bad intentions, and you're going to hurt when you wake up tomorrow morning. Mac Wilson did it as well. Saw a little bit of a dip in linebacker play in the 2019, 2020 type range, but that's because you had Joshua McMillan and Dylan Moses tear their ACLs a week before the season started. So you ran out there with freshman Christian Harris and freshman Shane Lee. 2020, Dylan Moses wasn't the same player, but you still had Christian Harris. And then 2021, you had Henry To'oTo'o and Christian Harris, who both were pretty daggum good players, I would say, here at the University of Alabama. On the front four defensively, though, Devon Tompkins is a guy that I've got questions about Devon Tompkins. Not saying he's a bad player, but it seems like every article I read, whether it be CBS or On3 or whatever, the most impactful transfer, actually Chris Hummer put out a report about this earlier today, I think, for CBS Sports. The most impactful transfer for Alabama this season is Devon Tompkins out of USC. He played on the interior of the defensive line for the Trojans, but Kalen DeBoer mentioned it today, probably going to play a little bit more of that outside defensive end or bandit type of role here at the University of Alabama. So if you've got a guy who's nasty and physical in the middle of a defense, but he's fast enough, twitchy enough, electric enough to play on the edge, to play that defensive end spot, feel like I could be pretty effective there. Feel like that could be a very, very effective defensive line. And then big Terrence Green has put on, Kalen DeBoer actually did say this today, put on 20 pounds of lean mass, of lean muscle, right? He's about 320 range. I think he's listed at like 320 or 319 on Alabama's roster. So he's in that range still. He was 330 at Oregon, but it's more muscle now. So you've got a 6'6" defensive lineman that put on 20 pounds of just pure muscle this offseason. And I'd hate to be an opposing center. I'd hate to be Racing Delgatti and got to go up against that in practice every day.
I would just imagine it's hard to put on that kind of muscle eating whatever they cook at Oregon. I mean, I'm sure they've got a lot of money to bring in a lot of good food, but, what are you cooking in Eugene, Oregon that makes a big boy, country strong, 20 years old, go, I need 4 plates of that to go max out on the bench?
Yeah, I don't know what the hell they got in Eugene, Oregon. I've seen pictures of like official visits and stuff, and the food is not great.
What do they eat?
It does not look good.
Kale?
Hell if I know. You come to Alabama, though, you're getting barbecue. You get really good barbecue.
That's what you need. Go to Oregon on an official visit. Eat some soy, some
steak,
tofu.
potatoes. They feed you. They feed you good at the University of Alabama now. I know. I was a student. I was a student there. I didn't put on a freshman 15. I put on a grad school 15. I mean, they feed you good in Tuscaloosa, and so I think a lot of linemen really like it there at the University of Alabama. That'll do it for us today here on the program. Coming up next, the game with Ryan Fowler from 2 to 6 on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC. That'll do it for us today here on the stream as well. Big thanks to Jackson and Whitman for hanging out with us there in the Tide 100.9 studios. Hey, if you're checking us out on the Tide 100.9 Facebook page, my Twitter page, or the Deep South College Football Show YouTube page, we really, really appreciate it. Be sure to leave a like, drop a subscription. It's completely free. It doesn't sign you up for anything. No annoying emails, no annoying whatever in your inbox, no text message updates. I know political ads have got everybody worked up right now. None of that. All it does is it just completely helps us out. So we greatly, greatly appreciate if you'd leave a like, be a friend. Tell a friend about the show if you love talking college football. We'll go back to our team previews as we get ready for SEC Media Days in Tampa, Florida coming up next month. We'll talk about Kentucky tomorrow here on the Deep South College Football Show. Until then, everybody stay safe and God bless.